FreedomToons is the most retarded bullshit I've ever seen in my life. In theory, this fucking garbage should be a goldmine for left-leaning content creators. The problem is that I've never seen anyone talk about this channel. There was that one dude Polydice a few years back, but he's vanished from the platform. I'm serious though, I really haven't found anyone make any responses to their content. I'll always see responses to the Ben Shapiro and PragerUs of the world, but I honestly think that FreedomToons is worse than any of them. The lies that he gets away with is absurd. I don't think they've ever made a good video, but then again, I haven't looked that far back because I think watching more of these videos will give me cancer. FreedomToons is a satirical conservative cartoon channel ran by Seamus Coughlin. Hey, I'm editing this video right now and I realize that's kind of funny if I call him Seamus Cockdick, so I'm gonna start doing that. He's a traditional Catholic conservative who you may have seen on Tim Pool's podcast. Seamus also has a podcast of his own called Shamer, but I don't care enough to listen to it. I think it's mainly about society and culture rather than government policy, and I'm generally less interested in those conversations. But also, I don't want to listen to what this scrawny motherfucker has to say about relationships. I've already heard him talk about culture on some YouTube clips, and for someone who cares so deeply about the nuclear family and returning to tradition, it's kind of strange that he isn't married and has no kids.
One very creative rhetorical tactic and propagandistic tactic of the left is to take normal human behavior that has been the status quo for all of history and then labeling it a unique quirk of the 1950s.
Seamus is a lonely fucking loser who spends his days making conservative cartoons and has never felt the touch of pussy in his life.
You're still single.
I am, yeah. I am. You're right. I guess
Depends on the day of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Knowles, all right now, currently I am single. That is correct. Incidentally, I am single. But making cartoons on the internet, it's a great way for Catholic girls to know who you are.
You're better off asking a caveman for help fixing your car engine than you are asking this dipshit for relationship advice. He is unmarried, and it is very fucking clear that this is a foreign concept to him.
Like, dress well, dress in that shows off your beautiful feminine form, and at least once go, that's so funny.
No,
and
I was just
stroke
gonna
his
say
arm.
that. I was just gonna say that. And touch, yeah.
Unfortunately, the content that he makes is even worse than the cringe clips I'm showing you because all he does in his satirical cartoons is lie. And before you say it's satire, so it's fine because it's a joke, satire is technically a lie, but it starts from a premise that is true. Look at this video from The Onion about conservatives walking in slow motion in Congress. This is real satire because it starts from the premise of conservatives trying to block Obama's policies. Then they exaggerate it since conservatives obviously weren't moving in slow motion. That's why it's satirical. But Seamus doesn't do that. He just pulls shit up from out of his ass and then exaggerates it even further. You can't just make shit up. But maybe he actually believes this stuff. I don't know. Conservatives are delusional and they live in a fantasy land. But let's actually look at some of this content. On October 15th, FreedomToons posted a video called Joe Biden Sabotages Kamala. Basically, in this video, Joe Biden goes to endorse Kamala, but instead talks shit about her and fucks up her campaign. When I first saw this, I was very confused and assumed this had to be based off something, but it just isn't. Joe Biden never held a press conference or has talked shit about Kamala. I mean, there was that one time he put on a Trump hat, but he was clearly fucking around and made fun of Trump in his next breath.
Just remember that no eating dogs and cats.
Do you see what I mean when I say this guy just makes shit up? He's just writing fan fiction and all the comments believe it. Harris stabs Biden in the back. Biden stabs Harris in the back. Harris, surprised Pikachu face? I swear, one of these days Joe is going to say, unlike Kamala, I wasn't raised in a middle-class family in a mansion in Canada. The Joe Biden takes revenge on Kamala Harris arc has got to be the most unexpected but hilarious political arc this decade. What the fuck are you guys talking about? None of this shit happened. What's worse is that they don't see how obviously hard they're projecting. If you want to talk about a president backstabbing their VP, why don't we talk about Donald Trump and Mike Pence? Last I checked, that's the only instance where a president and VP hate each other. Pence didn't endorse Trump, and Trump chose a completely new running mate for the 2024 election. And it probably has to do with the fact that prior to January 6th, Pence was called a pussy and a wimp over and over again for not wanting to overturn an election. It might also have to do with the fact that a mob of Trump supporters broke into the Capitol looking to hang Mike Pence, and while this was happening, Trump tweeted out, "Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution." And just a shot in the dark here, but maybe it has to do with how when Mark Meadows told Trump that his supporters were chanting to hang Mike Pence, Trump said that he deserves it. Every accusation is a confession with these fucking cunts. Speaking of election denial, on November 19th, FreedomToons uploaded a video entitled "Democrats Say the Election Was Rigged," where some random guy commands Biden and Kamala to say that the 2024 election was stolen so that they can stage an insurrection.
This is our one shot to stage the insurrection against Trump.
Seamus, you are such a Weasley fucking liar. This literally didn't happen. Here is Kamala Harris conceding the election to Donald Trump the day after the election. Here is Joe Biden conducting the peaceful transfer of power, although you probably don't know what that fucking is. When have they said the election was rigged? They have literally moaned and wailed for 4 years about how Republicans saying 2020 was rigged, and now the Dems are screeching from the rooftops that the 2024 election was rigged. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. How do people believe this shit? Plus, Seamus actually thinks the 2020 election was rigged. So what's going on here is that FreedomToons and his retarded fan base are making up that Kamala and Biden are saying the election was rigged, getting mad at them, all the while they actually believe the 2020 election was rigged and still believe it. Conservatives have no room to talk about Democrats trying to stage an insurrection when not a single Democrat has said the election was rigged, and you guys actually did stage an insurrection. I genuinely believe these videos are rage bait. There's no way Seamus is serious. And if these videos are rage bait, props to Seamus Cockdick, because I wouldn't be able to come up with such shitty conservative propaganda if I tried. Let's look at one more video. I've been really curious as to what Kamala would do if a hurricane hit my family. Okay, so in this video, Zelensky goes to Biden and Kamala and asks them for a bunch of money, and then they give it to him. And then there's this guy, and he asks for money because he's underwater, but they pretend to be poor. But then Netanyahu pulls up and asks for money, and they give it to him. But then that same guy pulls up and is like, "What the fuck? I thought you were poor." And then they're like, "Yeah, we are poor and blind now." And then some guy has a crate of immigrants, and then Kamala opens it, and then the guy sees her and is like, "This is why I voted for Trump." And then Kamala says, "No, you voting for Trump is why I'm treating you this way." And Random Cat 5262 thinks this line was very honest. Well, I'm sorry, Random Cat 5262, but I don't think there's a single thing that Seamus Cockdick was right about in this video. First off, the government is giving aid to people hit by Hurricane Milton and Helene, but don't listen to me, listen to the governors of the states hit. Roy Cooper, governor of North Carolina, praised Biden's response. Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, told Biden that they have all they need and praised his response. Fuck, even Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, told Biden they don't need any more aid and to focus on North Carolina. That might have to do with how the Biden administration gave $2.1 billion in federal aid for hurricane survivors. This response was possible because the Biden administration was able to pass legislation prior to the hurricanes, adding $20 billion to FEMA's budget. The only legislators who voted against this bill were Republicans. How interesting. But since I'm not a fucking liar like Seamus Cockdick, I will let you know that more Republicans voted in favor of the bill than against it. But still, that gives Seamus no room to talk if he actively supported a party that isn't willing to fund support for Americans. This also makes his talking point about Israel and Ukraine especially strange because it's not like removing this funding would open the hearts of Republicans towards different social programs. It is never Republicans who support healthcare reform, welfare reform, or even basic shit like free lunch for children. They just complain about helping Ukraine and then also complain about helping America. Same thing with immigrants. Seamus Cockdick thinks immigrants are getting too much welfare, but if he had his way, everyone would have no welfare. If you want to look at where the most harm is being done, always look at Republicans. In this video, Kamala says to arrest anyone trying to help hurricane survivors.
Arrest anyone who tries to help his family.
How can you lie so easily? This didn't happen. The only arrests made related to the hurricane were a bunch of dipshits who believe this misinformation and threaten FEMA workers. In this video, Kamala also says that she isn't helping this family because they didn't vote for her, but it was only Trump that did that. He didn't want to give California wildfire relief because they were blue, he didn't want to give blue states COVID aid, and he actively blocked hurricane aid for Puerto Rico for shits and giggles. But Seamus Cockdick doesn't care about that. He's a fucking liar and his fan base is stupid. It really is quite a shame that no one has spent time responding to the shitty content. They have over 1 million subscribers and make really successful conservative propaganda. So what can you do to stop this? Subscribe to me, duh.